Stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned. I'm here with the coach, John Brandt.
Man, I'm here with the vet, Mr. Ian Griffin, and it is a beautiful Sunday. Dallas plays at night tonight. So, or actually, have they already played?
Now, they play tonight, and we don't know the quarterback's playing or not. So, So,
a 3-point dog. It's kind of interesting.
It's going to be an interesting game. I don't take nothing for granted in that game right there, to be honest with you. Should come off a bye, should win easily, but the other team's on a bye too, so they think the same thing. So who knows,
Exactly.
So it'll be interesting in my mind. I'm hoping they pull out a victory so and nobody gets hurt. So
exactly.
So anyway. So a lot of things going on. Whole political chaos. Let me think. We had the vice president and her infinite wisdom come down to Virginia to go talk. We've had the former president sit there and say everything that's happened in Virginia is just being twisted for political facts. Excuse the father who got his daughter raped. Who cares about that? That wasn't important, guys. And then we have the president come down and with his sinking poll numbers come down and talk to Virginia. And so the Democrats, just like they've done with this bill, has hitched their wagon on Virginia being the, hey, this is the win all, lose all. And where the Republicans are kind of going, well, we took Virginia a long time, so if we take it, and if we don't, well, we gave it a good shot. But for everything that comes out of the words of the parties of the Democratic Party's mouth is everything is the sky is falling. This is the event that will save us. As is everything else, the bill that we don't even agree on is the bill that saves us. So here we are in Virginia, Coach. So what do you think? What's going on over there?
Well, Tuesday's going to be a very interesting day just because of the dynamics of, this election here is going to kind of show where we are going into the midterms. McAuliffe being, an actual governor there before, and now they brought in all the big dogs. And in the last 4 or 5 months, those numbers have gone from a double-digit lead to now it's a dead heat. So this is a very interesting dynamic. I think that President Biden has actually hurt this race here. And I think this could be, looking forward, could be a major issue for the Democrats and their progressive agenda. Are they going to, even if they win this race, it comes so close so fast, are they going to swing away from the crazy progressivism of the radical left that they're all seem to be going? Is this going to bring them going, hey, we've got to do well in the midterms, so we might want to bring it back a little bit more to what I call the Biden Democrats? So, yeah, this is going to be a very interesting next 2 or 3 days. Tuesday night, probably about midnight going into Wednesday, we're going to know the shakeup that's going to happen.
It is not just Virginia. It's Delaware, New Jersey, also one of them too, is
Correct.
Also having a very tight race that they did not suspect. And as I said earlier, people are going, well, the sky is falling. If we lose Virginia, the whole world will go to hell in a handbasket with the Grim Reapers of the Republican Party, and everything. And you're like, okay, yeah, it'll be traumatic for a party who oftentimes doesn't put America first and puts their own agenda first. Maybe it's a reality check. And maybe they need to get their moral compass back, because I truly think that. I honestly don't see a scenario right now, unless all of a sudden Biden drops 20 years of his life and puts on a Superman cape, that they're going to sit there and turn their party around anytime soon. For 2022. That reckoning is coming because they allowed too many far-reaching left people in their party to run their mouths far too much and to push agenda accordingly, where America predominantly is not far left and not far right. They're kind of just in the middle in a more of a conservative, moderate narrative in there. And you have the 10% that's far left and you have the 10% that's far right, but 80% of America's 80% of America would like to be able to go to the school board and voice their opinion without feeling the need of the FBI or something like that, or the Department of Justice breathing down their neck, especially since they elected those individuals in there. They are there to represent those parents, by the way. And then somehow we tried to turn it because that was the Democratic talking point. Well, these are potential social terrorists. I watched every bit of those Senate confirmation hearings with Garland, and I watched them all with the congressional ones too. And there is a vast difference than a terrorist. I face terrorists than a person from America who is concerned about their child. And there's no other way to look at it than that right there. That is exactly the way to look at it. Because all other is BS bullshit. I will say on Sunday, on Halloween, the day before freaking November rolls around, it is bullshit if you throw anything else in there. And what did the Democratic Party do is they pissed off the freaking goddamn freaking housewives of the middle class is what they just did in Virginia. And Virginia's had their issues. We all know this is they can say what they want to say, but we know in the primaries, not the actual election, but in the primaries, thousands of ballots were sent out in that Fairfax County that wasn't supposed to be sent out. And they were just found, we know all those things that are true to happen, but I think I might have lost you there, Coach. But
I'm here.
So there's a lot of issues, but from what the polling said, move forward number one issue is now education. I don't know, when you think about everybody that's become elected, to be honest, in the last 30, 40 years, it has taken a little bit from another party to move over to get them across the finish line. So you can bastardize the other party all you want, but the other party is what got you in there. And as far as the presidential election, and because of that, you're sitting there going, well, we should make them criminals. Oh, really? You're going to make your neighbors criminals for going to sit there and be pissed off because their daughter was sexually assaulted in a bathroom when it's supposed to be a place of studying? I don't know. I mean, there's some issues there, and the governor doesn't speak out on that. I mean, come on. What are your thoughts, Coach?
Well, I come back to this just being 21st century politics where neither party is going to admit that they're wrong. If right now there's only four votes ahead in the House for the Democrats, they're going to pretty much lose that if history repeats itself like it usually does in a midterm. But even at that, they're going to blame when Republicans lose elections now since Trump started this mess in 2020, it's going to be that it was rigged, something happened, ballots, late night, whatever. But I'm going to tell you now, if Democrats lose these, they're going to be like gerrymandering, all these things about the districting and how Republicans have stacked everything against them. But what neither party is doing, Vet, is they're not taking responsibility, like you said, to that 80% in the middle. They're going for that 10% Trump crazy on the right to that 10%, what I call Michigan nut AOC groups, and trying to keep those people happy because those people yell the most. And it seems like 70-80% of the country is terrified of the radicals. When if we really did some simple math, 78% of America could stomp out the radicals and say enough is enough. But we're not doing that in 2021. We're not going to do it going in 2022. We're going to let them hype up. Just look at the budget and the infrastructure deal that's being held up right now. And I hate this. Republicans aren't going to vote for anything that's going to make Joe Biden get a check mark. So that's just over the side. I don't believe in that. I think it's terrible what they're doing. I'm my Republican, but I think it's terrible that they're not trying to do anything. But you've got the Democrats that are fighting within themselves, and that's the fight that we're dealing with. And it's making them look bad, but in reality, we all look bad because there's not a Republican. They're just all Republicans just standing around going, let's just let them figure it out. Whatever happened to trying to come to the middle, not just them compromising the Democrats, whatever happened to Republicans and Democrats trying to compromise? You don't have one Republican talking about compromise right now with the other side. And you probably don't have many outside of the president Biden to even say anything about compromise with the other side. I don't understand what's going on. 2021 is going to be 2022, and going forward, whoever wins the election is going to think they have a mandate by 1% or 2% and try to change the country their direction.
Well, I just had somebody comment today on something that's in our county politics that says win, win, win for the blue. There's no win for the blue. It's either you win for America or you don't. If you think these parties, either one, Republican or Democrat, is there for you, I hate to tell you that they're for themselves and their own self perseverance as a party. And we've seen that often and often with Nancy and such. The other thing I'll say, Coach, you still there, man?
I'm
there
here.
You go. Yeah. The other thing I will say is I saw somebody discuss this about Virginia. If Virginia does turn to be a Republican, as a governor, what does that mean? It means that the Democratic Party has lost the advantage of being able to use the Donald Trump slogan that you're associated with them as a means to get a win now. And because that's been their high horse. I've asked the question way back in December, what would the Democratic Party's platform actually be once Donald Trump's out of office? Well, they've managed to milk that bad boy all the way to 10 months in, and they're trying their damnedest to milk it all the way to 2022 with, the January 6th hearings and everything. Although we only have hearings on freaking Afghanistan for 2 days, and we only spent 20 years in Afghanistan. We only lost lives in Afghanistan where we lost one life at January 6th, and things of that nature. So I don't know. I do think that narrative will change fundamentally. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with, because most of the policies of the Democratic Party have been so far, as you kind of like what you alluded to, they've been so far to the extreme, but it was a means to make sure they kept the independents in there. And it was their means to make sure they kept the progressives, the hardline progressives in there. We hear this week about the spending bill. The progressives said they're going to come out of it altogether. Now they're singing a different tune, of course, because we know the deal. Nancy probably pulled them behind closed doors and, did her thing that says, we're not giving you no money for you no more. We'll have somebody run against you, whatever, But will that actually change? Will Virginia be the catalyst to change you? Uh-oh, I'm losing you again. And for this, and that's kind of the question I got. And I'm going to throw it over to you, Coach, is do you think that'll actually change how the Democratic Party will approach things if they do lose Virginia?
And like I alluded to before, I don't think so. I think what's going to happen is the progressives will say if we lose Virginia, it's because we weren't progressive enough. The people in Biden, as I call Biden's Democrats, are going to say the reason we lost Virginia is because we tried to be too progressive with things. They have an infighting going on right now, which kind of was when the Tea Party and Republicans were fighting a few years ago. I actually been hearing lately, and I thought this was kind of funny, that all these people that do not agree with the Trumpsters on the Republican side are called rhinos, Republican in name only. Well, what if I told you that I think Trump is a rhino? Would that make people upset? Because is Trump really a true conservative Republican as we've had for years? A lot of these Republicans are what they have been for a number of years, Republican. You might not like it. You might want to change from it. And maybe that's what the Republican Party needs to do, is say, we're not going to be the old school Republican. We're going to be a new Republican. But this whole funny thing that I hear lately, that all these guys that don't agree with, all these people on Facebook that don't agree with every single thing. I mean, it has to be they have to agree with every single thing Trump does or says, or everybody else is a rhino. I don't think Trump's ever been Republican. I think he won the Republican nomination because that was the way to go. But I'll tell you right now, back to your question, I think whoever wins Virginia is just going to be able to say one thing, that we are on our way to capturing 2022. We're not really going to know until we get there. But I will say this much. Trump is pushing his nose in the business. So if we lose this one, is the Republican Party finally going to stand up and say, okay, Trump, stay to the sideline. You're hurting us. You're hurting us in 2022, because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. If we do lose this, the Republicans, and we get ready for 2022, and you and I both know there's historically can be a big swing, but who's going to get people out to vote more than anyone is not the Democrats' push to do all these ballots and late night this and that. It's going to be Trump's mouth into things is going to get Democrats and other people to go out and vote. That's what happened in 2020, Beth. And I truly believe the way that we win in 2022 and again in 2024 is push Trump further than Mar-a-Lago, put him down to Key West, push him all the way to Key West. That's the only way we're going to do it. That's just my opinion.
I honestly think that he can do whatever he wants to do. That 2022 is going to be a reckoning over number 46, and everybody's seeing how dismal this is. This is going to be like Jimmy Carter all over again. I think 2022 is going to be Nancy's going to be like, God dang, I can't even sit in Congress because there ain't 20 of us around here to do anything with. I mean, that's how it's going to be. It's going to be bad for the Democrat Party. I don't think they're going to win that much. But I will say this. I don't think the Republicans will hold 4 or 5 in the Congress. I think they will hold somewhere around 45 to 50 strong in the Congress. And after this is over, I think also in the Senate, I don't think they'll hold 1 or 2 in the Senate. I think they'll be around 8 or 9 in the up in the Senate in this, because I will tell you, this has been dismal. People voted for Biden, and we all know why they voted for Biden. They voted for Biden because they couldn't handle the tweets, because they got their feelings hurt, and they never learned sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. They never learned that shit in school. So they took it out on the president. They learned that crap there, and they didn't like all that stuff there. So they voted for Biden. I got it. The ones that matter, and everybody matters, but what I'm telling you is the swing. The ones that would have the opportunity to swing. Think about it. Those voted for Biden, they're not voting for him again. We all know that for a fact. I mean, unless Trump runs again. That would be the only downfall. But anybody else runs up there, you and I could run.
That's the key.
Yeah. You and I could run, and they would all vote for us because they don't want that dude back in there again. Think about this. When Jimmy Carter ran against Ronald Reagan inspired the country enough that the Democrats moved over and voted for him, because they couldn't stand how dismal the decisions were coming from Jimmy Carter, just like they can't stand how dismal the decisions are coming from Joe Biden. It's always been that way. One side has some that move over, and right now, and most of them, the Democrats normally they pick on the college students because they think that they're the easiest victories because they come from liberal meccas, and they are a target of opportunity by far. But it is going to be the suburban housewives that are going to go, we've had enough of this crap. You're actually consoling us and freaking sticking the FBI on us for worried about our kids. They're not hanging with that. I'm just throwing that out there. Or let me just say this new idea, and we're moving on from Virginia now, this new idea of paying somebody who come across the border illegally $450,000 when a serviceman can go down range and get killed for his country, and his family only gets $400,000 at the max if they died for the country. And that does not sit well with a lot of veterans and a lot of Gold Star families right there. I can tell you that right now. So anyway, there's a lot. And it's not just education, but Virginia happens to be the tipping point of education. And there's a lot of hand wringing in here too. And I will say something, and I'll throw it back to you. The Department of I did not like the tone of the Senate hearings, and I wrote about that, okay? I didn't like how the tone was, but I did not mind a single question that was asked of Merrick Garland. A couple of things that were obvious about this. The question that Ted Cruz asked about Merrick Garland, when he asked, is your son-in-law getting kickbacks for the critical race theory, and did you do an ethics inquiry regarding this? My last 5 years in the Army, anytime I gave a public speech, which I gave quite a few, or did any memo within the organization that people would read on, and that was their guidance for me, I had a legal review or ethics review done on it, period, or I didn't speak. That's just me as a measly old little bitty sergeant major in the United States Army. But if we know that, you know damn well the DOJ knows that, and he didn't do it. You're like, dude. And you was actually thinking about being a Supreme Court justice? Oh, my God. How vicariously were we living through that idea? And I never agreed with how Mitch McConnell handled that, but my God, that was a godsend decision the way he did. Not because he's conservative or progressive, because he just couldn't handle the crap. I mean, Jesus. So anyway, I'll throw it back to you, Coach.
Well, I'll hit Virginia at the very end, but I do want to say this, and a lot of people don't like for me to say this, that or consider themselves Republican or conservative, is if you want to win the president in 2024, It's not going to be with Donald Trump, because what Donald Trump brings to the picture of the whole country is you're going to get people stacked up, lined the streets to vote. You're going to get nothing but rhetoric about, well, I'm going to win, and if I don't win, it's because that because they don't want me to win, and they hid votes. But what we have to realize is, if you want to win the country where people say we need to go back to, or where you want to go to, there are conservative people out there that aren't Trumpsters that can get us away from this progressive nuts that we have. But it can't be Donald Trump. Not saying that he's not somebody that's good for us at times. But if you want to win the election and get away from Kamala Harris being your next president, then you have to realize that you got to get Trump out of these elections and out of the 2024 picture. I hate to say it, that is the way you lose. Continue to do that. But I mean, if you're going to lose and be a bad loser, that's the way to do it, because you can just lose with Trump and say, well, we really won, but we lost because we really won because we lost. I mean, I'm so sick of hearing that. And if another thing, if you want to really go out and win the election in 2022, 2024, take a little bit of the playbook of the Democrats. They all the time are out registering people to vote, having voting, rallies and this. And all we do is sit on the couch and watch Fox News and complain about all they're doing. Well, when's the last time you've seen Republicans walk in a neighborhood and having a chant or rally for people to come out and vote? We don't do it. We just say, well, we really won, but we lost. Well, why don't you make sure you win by go out and registering 500 people each person that complained about it at the last election? But we won't do it. The last thing I'll say about Virginia, because I know we're running on time, is Virginia is 4th in the nation in education. That's pretty good. I think at the very end, that might be something that they're talking up, because I started to hear it this morning when I was listening to what is it that they have every Sunday morning. I listened to it as I was driving to the gym, the show. It's on MSNBC and CNN and all the crap. The weekly show, whatever. But that's what they're talking up now. So, we're 4th in education. We've been doing things right. The critical race theory isn't even something we teach right now. It's just a Republican talking point. It's going to come down to the very end. It has nothing to do with the education bit. It's going to come down to the very end of, do you want to continue going with the Biden, country that's going, or do you want to step back and go, wait a minute, we don't like where this is going? That's what it's going to come down to. But if you put Trump in it, Biden people are going to go out and vote better. They're going to pick up more people on that day, and they're not going to stay at home. That's my opinion.
Youngkin has done a good job of keeping Trump out of it, to be honest. He's done a really good job on that. I agree with you, though. I think Trump, if he wants to help the Republican Party, if he truly does, dump money into it, shut your mouth, and call it a day. That's what he needs to do. I can name off the top of my head Nikki Haley, Nome, Tom Cotton, Governor Abbott, DeSantis, all those right there would walk in and they would destroy Joe Biden, or they would destroy Kamala Harris. I mean, it would be not as big as Reagan and Carter, but it would be pretty damn close to that right there, in my mind.
Yeah.
As we've discussed many times, Trump is polarizing as much as Hillary is. It just wasn't going to happen. It's not going to happen again. So it's time to move on with our country. And it's time to be honest, to get that old hat out of there. Biden's been around a long time, not trying to talk bad about him on that part. He's served our country a long time. He's just not there. And his policies were never right, because he was always going to fall for the fruit of the local polls that was presented to him that pushed a certain agenda. Whereas we just need somebody young and fresh with some valid experience. And those I named are just some, and there's a whole bunch more there. I would love to see somebody like Condoleezza Rice, to be quite honest. She would be awesome. And but that's just me. With Virginia, I think Tuesday's going to happen. I think it's going to be close. I don't know who's going to win. None of us really do. I still think 2022 is a bad day for the girl that flies across the nation to go get her hair done without her mask on. It's going to be a bad day. So go ahead, Coach, and we'll get it out of here.
Yeah, real quick I think we should both make a prediction. My prediction is two things. Number one, for Tuesday, McAuliffe will win, but 2022, the Republicans pick up in both houses.
I think you and I see eye to eye on that. I think so, too. I think the Republicans will be sitting heavy in the House by 40 seats, and I think they'll be sitting by 8 seats in the Senate in 2022. And I think almost any election after this here, you're going to see the Republicans sit there and do a whole lot with it. I think what really hurts McAuliffe is him saying that, hey, we're not teaching critical race theory. And you go on the freaking state website and it's like, I mean, one of the school board websites and it says it on there. You're like, that doesn't really help you much.
Uh-oh.
You know, I can't say exactly where it's at. I have to pull it back up. I do apologize for that, but it's on there. So that don't help too much. So, you know, I think it'll be close and I think it's a culture shock. You know, I don't think it'll be close I don't think it'd be close like a Texas trying to turn blue close, like we're only up by 2.5 million. It won't be close like that. I'm talking, we'll be like scratching with Fairfax County going, did he vote twice? Did we get all the votes in? You know, and all that other shit. So anyway, so this is good for Halloween.
Say it. Somebody's going to say it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to say from the coach. We're getting out of here.
And to the vet, stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned.